Hello, and welcome back to Let's Talk Chicago Bears. Yeah, I don't know about you people. I bet people in Illinois aren't talking like they were last week after that 35-32 loss. And everybody was talking like the Bears won, and they were all giddy and this and that. Because everybody thought the Bears were going to win that game yesterday. And the Bears should have won that game yesterday. I mean, what the fuck? You know what? They shot themselves in the foot. They lost that game by their mistakes. The Bears had that game handily. At one point, it was 24-10, I believe. And then it was 24-17, and then it was tied, and then we went ahead, and then they were winning. And then they won. So, you know what? I'm not happy. You know what? Because that's a game the Bears should have won. They're not going to win a lot more. So I said that they could be 6-10, or 6-11 or 7-10. I'm taking that back. I don't even think they're going to win 6 now. I'm taking that back because they should have beaten Detroit yesterday. That was ridiculous. It really, really was. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to break it down and we're going to talk about it a little bit. But, I've said it from the beginning, and I know, I want the Bears to win every week. And some of these games, I wasn't upset because they were getting better and better. And but they should have won this game yesterday. It was their game, and they gave it away. And those are the ones that they need to win. And they don't have many more of these left. The offense played well. They scored 30 points. Should have been 31, but they scored 30. And when you score 30 points, you should win that game. I'm just saying. Okay, so we know the score was 31-30. Let's talk about this. So the reason they lost that game is what bugs the shit out of me is penalties. That is the bottom line to this loss yesterday. And, of course, that terrible interception for a touchdown. For cripe's sake, I could have done better on that. And to Justin's credit, he owned up on it in the press after the game. He didn't come out for a very, very long time to talk to the press because he has to do that. That's part of his contract. And he did say, I respect a person who owns up. He did say it was terrible and it'll never happen again. So I can't be super mad at him when I hear that because, he's going to learn from it. And that's the thing. That's what this season is all about. Justin Fields learning from his mistakes and learning other things. You know what? Everyone's last week was like, oh my God, this is it. We've got it. We're on our way. But no, pump the brakes, people. We're not. He showed you yesterday that he still has things to learn, and that interception was one of them. In the last couple games, in the last 2 prior games, he threw interceptions, and on both of them, they were called back because of penalties on the other team. So technically, has 3 games with 3 interceptions, an interception in each game, but there's 2 others games they were called back because of penalties. So he's got to cut that out. But again, he's a rookie, and he's going to learn from it. Well, he's not a rookie, but he is, because we're not going to count last year because, those idiots were running in the team. But he still has a lot to learn, people. He's got to read the field a little bit better. He's got to make better decisions. But he's learning. There was some fantastic plays by him yesterday. Do not get me wrong. I know it. You're probably yelling at me right now. I get it. But you can't have some fantastic plays and then the bad plays. You've got to even it out, right? So you have a nice smooth game. And this showed you yesterday he still has some learning to do. And it also showed you that at what I preach, penalties can cause you a loss. My rule is 5 or less, right? To be in the game, if not to win the game. For my 3s, right? And they lost all 3 of my 3s. Penalties, time of possession, and turnovers. They had 9 penalties for 86 yards. Detroit had 2. 2 penalties. The time of possession, they lost it, but it's so close. It was 29 minutes to 12 seconds, Bears, 30 minutes to 48 seconds, Detroit. But Detroit won this game. And the turnovers, the Bears did not get a turnover, but they had a turnover. Obviously, Justin's touchdown for interception for a touchdown. But these penalties, and I'm going to break that down in a minute for you and show you exactly how some of these penalties lost the game for the Bears. But my threes, I say it every Friday, and I'm sure you're sick of hearing it, but this proves it right there. You can't win when you have 9 damn penalties, especially when you're not a good team. When you're 3-6 going into the game, now you're 4-6. Right? Yeah, you're right. Okay. And, that reminds me, I do apologize for Friday's broadcast. I was off my game, and now I know why. Because later in the evening, I started to feel really bad, and the next day I woke up, and I was on the couch the entire Saturday. I had a fever, 101. I couldn't move. My body ached. I had headaches. Everything hurt. Even my bad knee hurt. And, I was out of it. So I had some kind of virus over the weekend. I'm much better today, but I'm still pretty tired. But I think that's why I was off my game, So I do apologize again. Okay, let's get back to it. So the Bears, we're going to talk. I'm going to give a few more stats, and then we're going to get to it. The Bears had a total of 408 yards. 167 of them were passing, and 258 of them were rushing. This is the 5th straight game that the Bears have gotten over 200 yards a game. That's crazy and insane. And most of it is Justin, as you're going to find out. So, but our defense gave up. We beat them in every point except for passing, which I knew was going to be a problem. I said on Friday it might be a bit of a shootout, and it kind of was, but they beat us in passing. They had a total of 331 yards total. They had 236 yards passing that our defense gave up to them, and 95 yards in rushing. So the Bears defense in the last few games, surprisingly enough, have held the two teams under 100 yards, and that's something they haven't done most of the year. So that is a good thing, but I'd like to see Justin get these passing yards up. I think part of it is, the plays are there. He just chooses not to do it. The guys aren't open, so again, you can't see a lot of stuff because we're watching it on TV. So part of it is maybe these guys are not getting open, these receivers, and shame on them. And our offensive line, although it looked better, but he was sacked 3 times yesterday. He did get out of a few of them, which were pretty fantastic. Justin had 167 yards passing, as I told you earlier, 200. No. He had, what did he have? Darn it, I wrote the wrong thing down for what he had. What did he have? Oh, God, I wrote down the total of 258 rush. He did not 258. The team had 258 yards rushing. He had 100, and, man, I'm really mad at myself. See, I'm still getting over this virus. It was somehow, I think it was around 100 and maybe 40-something yards. Regardless, Justin had over 100 yards. He had 2 touchdowns and then obviously 1 interception for a touchdown. And he was sacked 3 times. To this date, he has 749 yards rushing. He's leading the team in that. And the last time this has happened was in 1972 when the Bears had a quarterback, and his name was Bobby Douglas, which some may remember and some only know. They've heard about it in, stories. And he led the Bears in rushing that year with 968 yards, 8 touchdowns on 141 carries. Crazy, huh? And the second highest, their fullback, Jim Harrison, was second on the team, and he had 622 yards. So that is crazy. So Justin Fields could break the record of 968 that Bobby Douglas did. And I won't lie, it would be kind of fun to see him get over 1,000 yards this year. But I don't want that to happen next year. It's fun to watch him. He had that 67-yard run yesterday for a touchdown. That was just awesome. I was just like, I still was really tired. I didn't feel good, but I'm going, go, go. And I'm sure most of you were doing the same thing. So it's crazy, isn't it, that we have a quarterback having that much, and then it was 1972 that something like this happened before. So that tells you back in 1972 that, he wasn't much of a passer and Bobby Douglas wasn't. Anyways, the rush, Herbert had 57 yards rushing yesterday. He also had that awesome kick return that took him to the 50-yard line, and that was great. But as I'm going to talk about in a minute about that I think there was a penalty involved, and the Bears did not score, and they should have. But we'll talk about that. Montgomery had 37 yards. Herbert has, to date, 643 yards total, and Montgomery has 434. So Herbert's beating them. I really wish it was kind of flipped, but that's okay because this is going to hurt David. I don't know if the Bears are going to sign him in the offseason. Cole Kmet had a wonderful day yesterday. Another great day. This kid is stepping up. I am digging this. This is what I expected to see of him when he came out of Notre Dame a few years ago, and we really didn't. We saw flashes here and there, but now we're seeing what we should have seen from his Notre Dame games back in the day. He had 74 yards yesterday with 2 touchdowns, and to me it seems like the two people that Justin seems to be the most comfortable with in the wide receiver. Now, remember, Cole Kmet is our tight end, not a wide receiver. But it seems to be Cole Kmet and Mr. Mooney. Those two seem to be Justin's comfort zone. So, although he hit Pringle a couple times yesterday, too. And I know a lot of people are probably like, where's Claypool? Yeah, I know. He hasn't been doing as much as we want. But remember, he's been with the team 2 weeks. You got to give him a chance to learn the playbook. He's got some things to learn. So let's pump the brakes on that and let him show what he's got. But, it's crazy. This rushing. I'm digging it, though. It helps. It helps a lot. I mean, Justin started off the game. He looked over to his left and he saw it was wide open. And what did he run for? I don't know. God, was it 20 yards, 15, 20 yards? Boom, first down. The one thing about that first drive is I always like to write down the first drive. The Bears went straight down the field. First down, and then it stalls. Again, they get 3 points. They need to get those 7 points. I mean, I always say if you're touching the ball, you got to get points. But you know what? It worries me sometimes because they get down there and then they become vanilla. And that's a problem. I'm starting to like our offensive coordinator. I think he's doing a good job, but we're still vanilla. We still have some learning and stepping up to do, but that also has to do with your offensive line and your talent too. Okay, so we know what the offense did. The defense gave up 236 yards, passing 95, rushing, as I said before, and 2 sacks. So let's get into the meat of the game. Okay, so what I was saying was, I told you about the first drive, okay? So, and then in the first half of the game, on offense, we're going to talk about the penalties now. On offense, the Bears in the first half had 3 penalties that hurt them, especially, and this is the one, after Herbert returned the ball to the 50-yard line, they had penalties in that drive that stopped the drive, no points. You get to the 50-yard line, and you have a fresh set of downs, you should be moving down the field and scoring at least a field goal. I mean, come on. They did not. Bad. And then but the defense is what really, really, really hurt them. The defense also, in the first half, had a penalty that allowed Detroit to continue after they had stopped them. They allowed them to go down the field after that and score a touchdown. Just can't have it, defense. You can't have it, Bears. Then in the fourth quarter is when the bottom fell out. We all know it. We're leading this game, and the Bears literally gave it away. On one drive alone, the Bears defense had 4 penalties. it start and okay, so it started out with that late hit by number 6 Gordon on Goff, which I believe was a bullshit call. Goff tripped over his own feet. Gordon was hitting the ball out. So it's still a penalty. So I'm on the fence about that one. That penalty gave the Detroit a first down, as we all know. And then the next, where am I going? Okay, Detroit. And the score at this point was 17-24, okay? And so then they get a first down. Then number 33, Jalen Johnson, gets a penalty that caused that wonderful interception by number 57, our linebacker, rookie, Sanborn. We had the ball. Drive stopped. Nope. Penalty. It goes back to Detroit. First down. Boom. Now, I said they had 4. And that's right. So I pumped the brakes. They had 4 penalties that allowed them to get to within 1 touchdown. That's when the game turned into 17-24. Okay? And then special teams, that's it. That's what started it out. Special teams had a penalty that allowed, they had stopped them. They had a penalty. It allowed Detroit to have much better field position. 1 penalty. The second penalty was the Gordon penalty, out of bounds, on the fence. Third penalty was by JJ, I call him, Jalen Johnson, that caused us not to get the interception. Yeah, I don't know why I said they had 4 penalties, but it was only 3. So it doesn't matter. Oh, I know why. Because right before that, it doesn't matter. I apologize. This brain is pickled and trying to get over the virus. But it is true on that drive. They had 3 major penalties, and then it was, at that point, 10-24 after these penalties that we literally allowed them to score that touchdown. Then it was 24-17. I believe in my heart, in some ways it's true. If we don't get that penalty on number 57, when 57 Sanborn gets that interception, Justin Fields doesn't throw that terrible pass for an interception and then a touchdown. I just don't believe that's going to happen, because the Bears then, if they didn't get that penalty, we get the ball back on a turnover, and I think the momentum takes us. Whether we scored again, I don't know, but they wouldn't have scored, and the score still would have been, in the fourth quarter, 10-24. That interception, changed the whole momentum of that game, the whole momentum. So those penalties were terrible. The Bears shot themselves in the foot on that. Then, in the fourth quarter, the Bears on offense had a penalty that took away another first down after Fields, right before Fields had thrown that interception. They had a penalty that pushed him back. Then he throws that interception, boom, touchdown. See, penalties. That's why I wrote down 4 penalties, because they had 3 on the defense in that drive, and then they turned the ball over, and then we got a penalty on offense, and then the next series, whether it was, I don't care what down it was, he throws the interception. That's why I did that, because it was all really related. They don't give that ball back to Detroit after that interception. As I say, I believe it's 10-24. Justin does not throw the interception, which then made it 24-24. Right, yeah. So, and let's face it, Santos certainly didn't have a good day yesterday. He missed an extra point, and I'll remind you of the score, 31-30, and he kicked the ball out of bounds, which was another penalty, which allowed Detroit to go to the 40-yard line. Now, for my notes, Detroit did not score on that, but it doesn't matter. You can't kick the ball out of bounds, Santos. That is like kicking 101. And missing these extra points, what was that, his third or fourth extra point this year? See how important that is, though? The game would have been tied. And things would have been so much different. So, you know what? No missed extra point, no interception for a touchdown. We win. Again, these mistakes cannot happen. The Bears are not good enough to overcome mistakes. And that shows you they're still at a place where, they were doing really well up until yesterday's game on penalties. Really well. As you remember, they were right around, they were under 5. The Detroit or the Dallas game, I believe they had 6, but they were right there. But this, if you watch that game, you saw it falling apart. And defense can't allow that. And our defense isn't consistent, as you can see. They would stop them, and then they wouldn't. They would stop them, and then they wouldn't. And the penalties would give them a first down, or And what I noticed a lot was they'd stop them on first and second down, but then they'd give them third down. He'd go to pass, boom, first down, and that pretty much happened all afternoon. Our backfield worries me some, but they're still young. We've got 2 youngsters back there, so that could be a lot of it, but it does worry me a little bit because they do give up these passing plays. But it's not, they gave up 236 yards passing to Goff. He can pass, but they got to get more consistent. They cannot allow that, but that's just gonna get better with experience. So, and Fields, same. He needs more experience, and I think this game showed us. I mean, yes, there's no doubt it's a lot funner. I don't think that's a word, but funner to watch the Bears when they score all these points. The last 4 games, they have scored over 100 points. Because up to last week, they had scored in the last 3 games 97. So they scored, 30 more points. So they're into the, but that's in the last 4 games. So we know they're getting it. But the mistakes have got to stop. I mean, I was so pissed. And I'm not, and I've said, I can deal with losses as long as they're getting better. But they didn't yesterday. They made stupid-ass mistakes. And we can't have it. We can't. You got to get rid of that. They should have won that game. It was our game, and they let it get away. And I know Justin had his head down and some of these players, but you know what? It was your fault, Bears. Can't blame nobody but yourself. So I did forget to do this last Monday, but the Turf Award went to Justin Fields last week again, but not this week. And if you don't watch, or if you do, I'm going to remind you, this is the actual AstroTurf from the Bears field. They ripped it up in 1997 and 1998, went to real grass, and then they sold clumps of it. And we got several. Me and my husband bought them. And, great players ran on this shit. Walter Payton ran on it. The 85 Bears, the 80 Bears, when they were good for so long, ran on this. So this is a tough. And look at this. Look at how thin it is. I mean, my God. This isn't what was on here under it. It was concrete under that. And that's how thin it was. So they were tough little boogers running on that stuff. And so I give this out every week to a player that may not necessarily have the best stats, but just played one heck of a game. And we all know who it's going to. Sanborn, our rookie, number 57, our linebacker. He had one hell of a great day. He had 12 tackles, 9 solos, 2 sacks, an interception that was taken away, and he caused several, and he got into Goff's face several times. And he looked good yesterday. I was worried about him the week before because he missed a couple, plays, but he's still learning too. He's a rookie too. He was an undrafted rookie, and if you remember or don't remember, he is homegrown. He went to Lake Zurich High School. So, did I say that? Lake Zurich? Yeah, Lake Zurich High School. He actually played with one of my nephews. So, Shout out to Riley. And but I think Jack's going to get better. He had one great game, and I got to tell you what, that was sweet to see, wasn't it? So we know some talent there. And as I said the week before, or on Friday's show, our defensive line, that's why we're giving up a lot of yards rushing, because our defensive line. But it showed me sparks yesterday. There were some guys, and they were getting there. They were getting close to Goff a few times. So that's a good thing. As I said, a lot of them are young, very, very young, and we got to see what we have going into next season so that Poles will know what he needs to do in the draft and in free agency. So the guys are basically trying out on the defensive line and the linebackers to be on this team next year, or not necessarily not to be on the team, but to be starters. So the rest of the season, if you want to be a starter next year, you got to show it. And I saw sparks here and there, but we got a lot of work to do. Again, I except for these big plays they're giving up, I'm not worried about the backfield. I think we're going to be okay there. It's our defensive line and our linebackers. But it's going to be like this the rest of the year. So they're going to give up points because they're not that good and they're still learning. But when you see a few good sparks here and there, that's a good sign. But they gave up those scores due to those penalties, and they cannot let it happen. They were stopping them in the second half, and then they go down and then just shoot themselves in the foot. That drive was abominable when it went from 10 to 24 in the fourth quarter, and the Bears had all those penalties, and they were giving up big yards, and they let them score. And then, boom, a minute later, he throws a touchdown. He throws an interception for a touchdown. Again, I know I'm beating the dead horse, but those penalties don't happen. The Bears hopefully stopped them. It looked like they were, but they kept giving them first downs. They had a couple third downs, and they gave them first downs. You can't do that. Although I did say on Friday, we didn't have to worry about Goff running, because he only has 29 yards this year. And did you see how badly he looked when he ran? But he did run for almost a first down, which actually I think he got the first down, and it was 12 yards, I believe. And then he got it tacked on 15 because of the penalty. So I was like, wait a minute, you're running? What are you doing that for? So that one surprised me. But he did you see him chugging down the field? But that was pretty funny. But that was the only time he ran. But still, he did get away from our defense a few times, I got to admit. But our defense, as I said, we're going to get a little better next year. We're going to get much better next year. So we got to get through. And it's unfortunate because the offense gives you 30 points. Should have been 31. You should win that game. You really, really should. So I'm sure the defense is hurting today, but I really hope that Coach Flus drove home the penalties really is what disrupted that whole game yesterday. Because, I'm not going to repeat it again, but we know what wouldn't have happened if they didn't give those penalties. So, I'm not happy about it. Had this been a really good team, like the Bills or Philadelphia, and we lost by 1 point, I would be happy. I'd be like, okay, that's cool. But it was Detroit, and they had a worse record than we do. They were 2-6. So come on. Now they're 3-6. We should have beaten them. Should have beaten them. And that's when I get pissed. When you got a game in you, and that's the thing, is the game was in their hands. God's sake. But when Santos missed that extra point, I don't know. I'm sure other Bears said this, but I thought, we're going to fucking lose this game. And I was pretty sure it was going to be by 1 point, and I was right. I was really disappointed. He's been pretty solid for us. But I got to tell you can't miss extra points, young man. You just can't do it. You kicked the ball. You just did not have a good day yesterday. So, but I'm not going to blame it all on Santos. People can't say, da-da-da-da-da. No, it's not all him. It's the penalties, the interception, and the missed extra point that did it. It was three things that lost that game for us yesterday. So, but, like you say, if this didn't happen, maybe that wouldn't happen. You know what I mean? It's all about momentum and who's doing striving and playing well, and then when you start making mistakes, that just boosts up the other team, and they're like, oh man. And did you see how happy they were on Detroit's sideline? They're like, we're gonna win this game, we're gonna beat these guys, and it was acting like their Super Bowl. So you know what, Bears, shame on you. Yeah, all on you. So that's all my rant for today, because that's it. So we know what happened. We have a winnable game coming up again next Sunday against Atlanta, in Atlanta. But I don't know what to even say anymore. Let's see we'll see how the Bears play next week against Atlanta and how those penalties are. It's like I said, it's something they haven't been bad at this year. This was really their first really bad game. This was like a last year's team under who, the guy that wore the visor with the bald head. They used to get those kind of penalties all the time under him. They averaged like 8 penalties a game under that idiot. So we're way better, but this just proves what penalties do. And it does it to I watch football all the time, and I see it week in and week out. Teams lose because of penalties. And some of these teams they're like the Bears, they're not good enough to overcome them. And I saw it yesterday after our game, and it's just it's a shame. All right, I'll stop because I'm saying the same shit. I know it, I get it. But I'm pissed. Yeah. I'm not on that bandwagon like last week, Oh, we almost won, and Justin's awesome. Blah, blah, blah. All right. On that note, I do appreciate y'all guys watching. I didn't get a lot of views on my last show, so I don't know what's going on. What's going on, man? Keep watching. Tell everybody to watch. Come on, man. And I haven't had any new subscribers. Like and subscribe to me after watching my show, because I rock. I love the ones who are loyal to me. I've been on season 3, and I'm still, people are out there watching me, so I'd probably do it if I had 10 viewers, but it is a heck of a lot better when you're averaging 100 viewers a show, and I have 311 awesome subscribers, and I love you all very much, and I do 100% appreciate it. I think if you watch me long enough to know, I mean it. And on that note, I sign off every show like this. Be kind. Inspire change. Stop hate. Love one another. Help somebody out if you see somebody struggling at a store or anywhere, pulling their garbage cans out. They can't get them out. Help them out. Be nice. Things are really tough in this country right now. Everybody's on edge, and if we all stick together and just be kind, like I know you can be, things will be a lot better, and we'll get through this all. And as I always say, Bears fans are the toughest little boogers I've ever met in my life. I mean, we have to be Bears fans. And that's the other thing, is that Bears organization, we really have been waiting a long time. So, let's just keep going. Okay? And please just be kind and smile at people, because it could make somebody's bad day better. I real quick, I went to the store today, and this woman in the parking lot, usually where it happens, right, did something, and it was stupid. And she had an attitude, and she, her and I exchanged a few words, and I was like, God, And then I went into the store, and I started smiling at people, and they're smiling back, and people are talking to me, and it put it right out of my head. It wasn't worth it. And I actually saw her a little bit later, and she was trying to rev it up again, and I ignored her and walked right by her like I didn't even see her. No, lady, you ain't going down that road. You did it once with me. You're not doing it twice. So, see? Smiling does help. And it looks a lot better than frowning. Trust me. All right, I love you guys. I'll stop with the preaching, all right? I love you guys. I will see you Friday. And as always, go Bears. And keep on rocking and rolling from Vegas, baby.